It's a beautiful morning. It's a beautiful day. And everything's going my way. Good morning. It is Monday, November the 5th. Let's get this day started. Okay, so heading to the orthodontist. She has this metal expander in her mouth, and I look so tired. It's supposed to help with her breathing. She also has very serious, she meaning Gabby, has very serious sleep apnea. And she's had surgeries, and so this thing is supposed to help with her breathing. So I think today we're going to have it adjusted or removed and put a temporary, I forget what you call it. You have braces, and then you have a retainer in. So on my way. I don't need to be so close because I ain't look so hot. I'm tired, and this hair is so not working, but it's gonna have to be. So, trying to remember to breathe. That these are those moments in life that you're doing not what you necessarily want to do, but what you have to do, right? And that these little stressful moments. I'm stressed because we just finished school, and now I have to run all the way across town to Gabby's orthodontist.
And take her outside of my lap.
And so it's just stressful. I get irritable, but patience. And yeah, so as I'm driving, it's about an hour drive. I'm just trying to remember patience, and I go this far. I mean, you can find an orthodontist anywhere, but this is a specialized orthodontist who works with breathing problems in this special expander. So we have to go across town because in our little town, you're not going to find this type of specialized orthodontist. So we actually are almost going into Atlanta to get to her specialist. So, what's up? I'm back. I'm in and out and in and out and in and out. Hair changes, clothes changes, or clothing changes. So I wanted to dip in real fast. We are back from the orthodontist. You know, when I leave my small town, I live in Northwest Georgia. We're about 25 miles outside of downtown Atlanta. 25, 30 miles outside of downtown Atlanta. And I chose this place. You know, I moved to Atlanta 2 years ago from California. And I'd lived in California for 18 years. But I grew up in Atlanta. And I came back because my father was sick from Alzheimer's, and I was wanting my daughter Gabrielle to spend a little time, even though I knew that my father was in the throes of Alzheimer's. I wanted her to know him and have some level of relationship, even if she had to sort of experience those days when he knew her and days when he didn't. Unfortunately, I was not privy to how bad my father was. I'd seen him in December of 2015, and the end of December we spent Christmas together. I've got video of Dad Christmas, and by 6 months later, he died basically 6 months after I saw him. And the turn was so fast. He was living in his home. We had a home helper living with him at that time, but within 6 months, everything changed. And that's a whole different story. But we moved here so that my daughter could spend time with my father. But 9 days after we moved here, my father died. And people basically say he was waiting on you to get back. I really thought about turning my butt around and getting back on the plane and going back to California. So I really did have the thought to basically turn everything around. I was still employed. I'd been with my job for 10 years. I could have gone back to that and said, oops, sorry. And anyway, but I didn't. I didn't because I wanted my daughter to have the experience of living in the South. She was born in Los Angeles. That was the only thing she knew. And I wanted her to sort of see the difference. And honestly, I moved out of Georgia when I turned 17. I moved from Georgia and went to Virginia. Went to Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia. And so I hadn't lived in Georgia since then. And then I lived in DC, which was sort of, cosmopolitan, progressive area. And then I moved out to California. And of course, it's very progressive, very liberal. And I'm not realizing what I'm getting into. I'm living in a almost rural area of the metropolitan Atlanta area. The mentality of the people, I was shocked. I was totally shocked. So when I moved here, it was just before the 2016 elections. I saw more Trump bumper stickers. And for those of you who watch my channel and who are, Trump supporters, I'd really like to, have an exchange, a, dignified, educated, supportive, respectful exchange as to why you support him. And I'm not really going to get into politics on this channel. I'm really not. But I will say that in my 18 years of living in California, I knew there were Republicans, of course. I mean, there were Republicans. And in fact, a lot of my clients were in Orange County, California, Orange County. And it was known to be very Republican. And a lot of my partners were there, is what I meant. And so I would travel through there, and yes, I saw a difference in attitudes. However, it wasn't as blatant and in your face. And when I say attitudes, I'm talking racism. Here in this part of Georgia, a lot of my daughter, some of the reason I took my daughter out of her school was that I saw the attitudes there. I volunteered, and I would go into the school, and from the secretaries to the teachers, and they eventually loved my daughter. Her personality is so engaging and so endearing. But the first day that I went in, even to drop off the paperwork, the secretaries had an attitude with me. Yep. Her first grade teacher called her brat. There were just things that were not really acceptable. And so knowing that she was struggling, I wasn't willing to continue to keep her in that environment. But it's really about the attitudes. The reality is that this community, this city, was probably 10 years ago, it had a reputation for racism. In the past 10 years, more minorities are moving in because the schools are so good. On a scale of 1 to 10, the schools in this particular county, the lowest that you're going to see is about a 7. Gabrielle's school was a 9 when I put her in there. 9 out of 10. It's an excellent school. It's part of why I chose this city. Even in my community with my neighbors, my community, very interesting. is relatively diverse. The community across the street is very she. And when you say I live in the city, and I say my daughter attended XYZ school, it's like, oh, do you live in? And I'll say no. Here's the reality. The reason I chose not to live over there is I didn't want to sweat a mortgage. I knew that I was taking a couple of years sabbatical. I wanted to be able to afford a house that I wasn't going to stress about, that I could pay for and not worry about in my sleep. You know, the housing here, and part of the beauty of living in Georgia versus LA, and I will do a comparison of the two, is that the house that I purchased here would cost me 3 times as much in Los Angeles. 3 times. You know, so I can live here comfortably and not stress about working for an amount of time and work on focusing on my child. However, the attitudes are horrible when it comes to race. Especially when you're accustomed to living in Los Angeles, and my group of friends in race were so diverse. Coming here, and even the blacks who are here, a lot of them don't want to really associate or click because they're trying to blend in to the non-blacks, and so they don't want to be seen. It's just, I hate it. And so I was reminded of how much I hate it when I visited the north side of town. I grew up in Southwest. I'm from SWATs, Atlanta, but I went to school on the north side. I was basically bused to a magnet school. And I love my daughter's orthodontist today is on the north side, and as I drove through, I was like, I could breathe. And it's not necessarily a race thing, because the racial dynamic and balance is about the same as it is in my city, my current city, but it's the attitudes. Here, if you Stacey Abrams is running for governor, and tomorrow is voting day. Yay! I can't wait to go and vote. But here, you dare not put a Stacey Abrams sign for governor on your lawn. I mean, I'd be afraid to do it because I feel like I would be attacked. And were I single and were just me, I would probably do it. But because I have to protect my child, I don't want to do that. There was one weekend when we drove through an intersection where there was a group of diverse people on the corner with Stacey Abrams signs, and signs in the grass. And generally, when you do that, those signs stay. The next day, those signs have been cleared out. Don't even think about it. Driving down the street and seeing so many driving down the street and seeing so many Confederate flags, not only on bumper stickers, but Confederate flags. There's one truck that I've seen around here, and they have a full-size Confederate flag. It's a pickup truck stuck in the back of the truck, and they're flaring. If I can cry, I will videotape it the next time I see that truck. Confederate flags hanging off the sides of houses. I don't think I ever saw a Confederate flag when I was in California. And of course it makes sense. I mean, it's not the South. But if someone was blatantly racist, and some people will argue whether or not the Confederate flag is a sign of racism. I'm not really going down that path because people understand sensitivities. So when someone chooses to put that on their car, as far as I'm concerned, they're basically trying to make a statement. It's not whether or not the flag itself represents anything. It's those it's the choice to put that on your car when you know and understand the sensitivities around it, So, yeah, I mean, it's just, so I really hate where I am. My daughter has such a hard time making friends, and part of it is her. I realize that part of her inability to make and keep friends is her. But part of it is the parents. The parents, you know. Okay, my battery died. I'm not sure where it left off, but I was talking about my life in Los Angeles because I want to make sure that I get this in. And so when I was in Los Angeles, it was really common for kids to be raised by a single parent. And there are those people who will totally disagree, but if you're dealing with a child who is in foster care, and especially if they have special needs, the chances of them being adopted and the child on top of it being a minority, okay, the chances of them being adopted by a two-parent household is rare. That's why so many children grow up and age out of the foster care system. So, for those people who have, their opinions about, well, single parent, okay, well, then what's the option? Do we just allow these children to, whittle away and to raise themselves, or to go from foster home to foster home to foster home? And a lot of the foster homes are good, but a lot of them are horrible. And so that can be another discussion. If you got an opinion about that, put it in the comments. I promise I'm not going to bite your head off, but we can have a educated debate. Anyway, so it was very common for children to have to be raised by a single parent. Here, because it was parent because, and I was mentioning that I had been part of a single adoptive moms group, and that group was basically professional women. We were all professional women who had chosen, and most of us were of a certain age, definitely over 30, who decided for whatever reasons that we were going to adopt. Many had waited and waited and waited for Mr. Prince Charming to appear, and he didn't. So we adopted, and it was a beautiful thing because the majority, it's really interesting, there was women who adopt single women who adopt little girls. It's interesting. I don't think there was one boy in the group. That just dawned on me. Anyway, was there a boy? No. We did allow one guy in who was a gay male. He wanted to be part of the group, and he did have two boys that he adopted. But anyway, it was a beautiful thing because these girls are seeing strong women out slaying in the world and raising a family. And all of our girls have strong personalities, and they are leaders. Gabby is a leader. She will walk into any group and be like, come on, let's go do so-and-so. And I have to control it a little bit because she can be, back in the day, you called it bossy. Now they call it leadership skills. But, yeah, it was a beautiful thing, but you won't find that in my city. In my city, everybody, like I said, I've only encountered one single woman, everybody is married, whether they're happy or not, whether they have that look like they're on Xanax or something else to just get through the day. Yeah. And so I hate it. It's not really what I want my daughter to see. I do want her to see marriage. I came from, a nuclear family. My parents were married for 52 years. They were a death do us part. When my mother dropped of a heart attack, it was after their 52nd anniversary. So I grew up in your traditional family with a father who went to work and a mother who stayed at home and all of that. And that's great. I saw it. But I tell you what, it's not the end all, be all to end all. It's really not. I think my mother sacrificed a lot. I think she sacrificed a lot of herself. She pushed education with my sister and I so hard because she wanted us to have choices. She wanted us to be able to, if we didn't want to stay with a man, be able to stand on our own 2 feet, And I want her to have the same thing. Maybe one day I will get married. But Gabby will have had the experience of seeing me do things on my own, to be successful on my own. She has fond memories and talks about all the time. Oh yeah, when I used to go to your office and I'd take a nap because I closed my door, and she'd take a nap. She saw that mom was the manager, that there were people in cubicles, but mom had an office, and mom did this, and mom traveled, and mom, and she'll see it again. But, I want her to have a strong female role model. And if one day there's a man who can, that I meet, who can, accept and not be threatened and be cool with who I am and treat her well, and I can trust, around my daughter, and maybe she can see mom as a married woman, But I want her to not rely on this Billy Bob and Mary Jane situation that's going on in this city, because it's false. I don't think it's real. But there's a certain vibe that's going on here that isn't working for me. So as I was on the north side, even though those houses are way expensive, and I explained to her, I was like, you know what? I wouldn't mind living on this side of town. And immediately she starts pointing at these huge houses. I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. I said, I would be looking at a one-story home, and it's not going to look like it. Well, I like our two-story home. I'm like, well, then you can just stay in XYZ city. Because, yes, Ella, and Ella has her opinion too. You can just stay in XYZ city. Come here. Come here, girl. Why don't you meet the people? Ouch, 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 ouch. This is Ella. Ella is my 16-year-old cat. Girl, you're clawing into my legs. It's killing me. Okay. Whew. Anyway. So yeah, so I really want to move. I think there's a different level of acceptance and inclusiveness. Even going through these really wealthy communities, you saw Stacey Abrams signs up. No one was taking them down. There is, there's a diverse intellect that's going on over there. So mama gotta get busy. Mama's gotta bring something, make it rain dollars, because I'm like, I need to get out of this city. Now it's not gonna happen tomorrow, but my goal is 2020 to move over to the other side of town. And really, all my stores, my Trader Joe's is over there. What else was my Whole Foods is over there. The bookstore's over there. Like, you don't have that out. This is a rural, okay, what do we have? We don't have Trader Joe's. I did see them put, I don't even go to that store. I don't even know the name. Aldi? There's an Aldi. But otherwise, there are no stores like that, which were common on every other corner in California. There was a park, there are parks. There are parks in the planned communities here, but I'm talking like a city park that is clean, that she can go to and play. In Los Angeles, we could walk to one of 4 or 5 parks just from our home. Here, our subdivision doesn't have a park, like a community park. And that's what I liked, because there are this is not a HOA community, which can be a problem, because there's some houses that are a hot mess. And if we did have an HOA, then they would be forced to do certain things. But I didn't want an HOA, because I don't want people telling me what color I can paint my house, or I'm not paying for a house for you to tell me what I can do. But the negative side is that you get some crazy neighbors, and you can. But the planned communities with the HOAs have the parks, little parks, and apparently they must check credentials, I've heard, or something. I don't know how they do that. I'm not even trying to. All the stuff that you see on TV with black people being called on for selling water, for trying to swim in their planned community HOA pool, for trying to go into their own apartment, for them barbecuing. Like, why would I? Especially where I am. And I hate even having to think like that because I haven't had to, as an adult, I haven't had to think like that until I moved back to Georgia 2 years ago. And I hate it, and I'm not willing. Here's the thing. After living in California and having paid for property there, and knowing how I stressed every month about the mortgage, like, oh my gosh, one month I had to have like a yard sale and sell stuff because I was like, I need to make my mortgage. I don't want to have to do that. Here, it's not even a thought. I don't even think about it, you know? So I don't want to put myself back in that situation. I just really don't. You know, so after having lived there and realizing that mortgages and the cost of living is here, and moving to Georgia and realizing that the cost of living and property is here, I need to play the lottery or something to go back to going up there, because I would feel like I was just throwing my money away. I really would. So yeah, I think I'm in Georgia probably for a good bit. Maybe when Gabrielle is a teenager or so, I'd look at going back to LA. I'm not sure. But I want her to have the experience. And part of the reason I didn't move back right after my father died, she begged to not go back. She liked California, but once she got here, she realized my brother was here, my sister was here, she was seeing my cousins and, you know, my aunts and uncles. She loved, we didn't have any of that in California. She loved it. Now she's homeschooled and she's sensing and feeling the rejection. She talks about going back to California. And I'm like, no, you had your opportunity. Now it's sort of in my system that I only have to pay here. There I got to pay there. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So she's got, but I think if we move to a more progressive area, she'll be a little bit happier and she'll make more friends. You know, there'll be parents who aren't limiting, you know, friendships with their kids. It's a sad state. But anyway, I'm going to check out of here. It's been a long day. It's been, like I said, a reminder of the fact that I need to get the heebie-jeebies out of my city and move on over to the north side. But I gotta go get this kid some dinner. So, and my mouth is numb because here's the challenge with me. I get so busy, sometimes I don't eat. This morning I had my protein smoothie. I haven't eaten since then. Yeah, so that's really not good. My day, oh my gosh, it just goes from one thing to another, jump in the car, go do that, and before I know it, it's 5:30 and I haven't eaten and my mouth is almost, but I was determined I'm going to get this video in and edit it after I feed my child. So, once again, thanks for watching. If you haven't yet done it, subscribe, give my video a thumbs up, and I'll be back tomorrow. Bye.
Don't forget, like